Hello and Happy New Year to everyone. And I'd like to share with you something that I realized today that might help you if you're on a path towards a raw vegan diet or a healthier diet in the direction of a raw vegan diet. And it was quite interesting insight. And I have a very small group of people that I mentor on a weekly basis, a little membership group. And people from the UK Fruit Fest. And I created a program a while back that people can follow that is a program taking someone towards a raw vegan diet. And so far, no one's really embraced the program. It's a small group of people. I've maybe not pushed it on them enough, but no one's really followed the program or really tried to follow it, which is fine. And but the way that I put the program together was a step by step process. So I don't see this has been an overnight thing, changing your diet. I don't think it's an overnight thing. Some people might say they had an overnight experience, but I'm not convinced of that. And I've just not seen it very much. But there's a thing at the start of a year, a lot of people want to set new goals. And so many people who are interested in this lifestyle have a goal to be on a raw vegan diet. And the way that they try to achieve that goal is by going on a raw vegan diet. And that sounds logical, but most people will go on that diet and fall off and fall off and fall off. And the reason is that no one appreciates how hard it is. Now it's not hard once you've been doing this diet, but it's very hard to change to this diet. And it's very hard to change overnight to this diet. And it's very hard to change overnight to this diet if you don't want to do it. Now, the difference with the raw vegan diet and other things you try to achieve in your life. So let's say I have a goal. I don't particularly have this goal, but let's say I had a goal. I want to learn how to completely take apart a car engine and put it back together again. That's my goal. If I go into the, I go to some kind of a course where they're doing that, teaching people that, and I go into a room, there's all these car engines, and I go in and I immediately take apart the car engine and I do everything perfectly, and then I leave. Well, I assume I can do it because obviously it would make sense. In the real world, that doesn't happen. You walk in to that kind of situation, you have no idea what you're looking at. It's too complicated to do it, and so you have to get taken step by step through the process of this is what this is, this is what this is how this fits together, this is how this fits together. And over a course of weeks or months, you make small little changes, improvements, your knowledge starts to come together slowly, and you gradually get to this place where you start to understand the different parts of a car engine and how they come together and the tools you need to use and all that stuff. Now think about anything. Going to the gym, going to lift heavy weights or something. You don't go in there and lift heavy weights straight away. With a sport, you don't go in and play tennis with the top player straight away. With music, you can't sit down at a piano and play a concerto straight away or whatever it's called. None of these things that you try and achieve in your life happen straight away. You don't go into a job and you're the top guy straight away. You're not the top person in your industry straight away or whatever. None of these things are things that you do perfectly straight away. Whereas a person can do 1 day perfectly of a raw vegan diet anytime. Or if you've been to festivals, retreats, been part of a 30-day online program or something where it's 30 days of raw or 30-day juice feast or something, you might have experienced yourself doing it for a week, for a few days, for a few months even. And there's a whole bunch of people who they've done this for 60 days, 90 days. They know the raw vegan diet, sort of. They sort of know it. They sort of know how to do it. But they've only done it for 20 days, 30 days, 90 days. So it gives the illusion to people that they can do it. So when they can't do it, as in they keep on falling off, and they keep on going right back to the start, they're asking themselves, why can't I do this? Whereas the person that comes out of the car engine changing course in the first few weeks or months doesn't say, why can't I just completely change this engine yet? They know they can't do it. They know they've not got the skills yet. And people going to the gym know they can't lift the super heavy weights yet. And on and on and on, like other things you do in life, you know why you're not at the top. With this diet, you are able to do it. Many people could wake up tomorrow and do a day of completely raw. And so the idea is, well, why can't I just continue to do that? And that's an experience many people have had. Many people have had the perfect day of raw with the perfect exercise added in, and everything came together really well. And you think, well, now I just need to continue that from here on out. And it never works like that. And the truth is that doing this diet long term properly is a different thing to doing it for 1 day or a week or a month, especially if you're doing it with other people doing it with you or at an event or something. By the way, if you go to a retreat and you stay raw at the retreat, you should still pat yourself on the back, because a lot of people don't. They'll go to festivals and retreats and things and they'll leave in the middle and go and get other food and come back. People do that sometimes. So you should still be, think you've done a good thing there. So what you actually have to do is you want to set your target of going raw, but you don't go raw long term by going raw straight away and then trying to force yourself to do it. You have to look at where you're at honestly in your life with your diet, where you're actually honestly at. And if that's not vegan or plant-based or vegetarian or anything, well, that's fine. But it's wherever you're at. You have to figure out, where am I truly at? And you have to figure out, on your worst day, whatever you see as your worst day, what are you prepared to eat? And if it's anything, then you're still on the anything diet. And that's what you should see your starting point as. Your starting point is the anything diet. Don't judge yourself based on your best day, but on your worst day. What do you eat in the worst day? Because on their worst day, a vegan stays vegan. And on their worst day, a plant-based person stays plant-based. And a raw vegan stays raw vegan. So if on your worst day you go and have, steak and chips or something, then that's where you're at. From understanding where your start point is, it's then a case of starting to change your habits and develop new habits. And that's what you have to do. And you should start off with a habit, with something that is so easy for you to change that you don't even think is significant. And that's really the science of habit changing. You make it incremental, sort of small changes. A guy in the group had told us that he was still eating dairy cheese. And so I encouraged him, well, why not? I didn't say go raw, I said, why not eat vegan cheese? And he was a little resistant to it, but actually did it. And when I spoke to him today and said, how did that go? And he says, oh, yeah, I've changed to the vegan cheese and I've actually been enjoying it and I've actually felt a difference. But he didn't see that as a big deal. That's the kind of change you want to make, not a big deal. Because once you get used to that, your worst day is no longer, I eat a whole bunch of dairy cheese. Your set point, your lowest point, whatever, is now vegan cheese. Now, do I think vegan cheese is particularly healthy or a great thing? Probably not, but that's the point where the person is potentially at. The next thing will be to identify the next change like that they're willing to make. And then the next change, and then the next change, and developing a new set of habits and patterns and routines. And as confidence and momentum grows, the person then goes, you know what, I don't even need this vegan cheese anymore. Puts it aside. And that's the way I think about it, building on that one stage at a time. That's the way I wrote out the program that I kind of do. But I do think another thing's important, which is tracking what you're doing. Tracking. And a lot of people don't want to track what they eat. It's too much work. Well, just track a little bit. Just vaguely track. At the end of the day, just sit and think, what did I eat today? Had that, had that. Keep a vague track if you're not ready to properly track it. Just start the habit. Just by tracking and reviewing things, you will start to change your behavior. You will start to change your behavior. And for weight loss, tracking your calories is, I think, it's almost impossible to do it without tracking what you're eating. That's something that I'm happy to be. I just think more and more it's yes, if you go 100% raw vegan, you'll lose weight. And this is what a lot of people are, this is why I'm starting to work out what people are doing. They want to go raw vegan because they don't want to have to think about anything else. If I just go raw and stick to this one rule of it's raw and it's vegan, that's it, they'll lose weight. And you would. But a lot of people just can't stick to the diet yet. So they try and go raw, they don't lose any weight because they keep on falling off and eating cooked food and junk food and all the rest of it. So for weight loss, tracking your calories is pretty important. For weight gain as well, probably tracking your calories is important. So I think that that's one of these things. Like a lot of people think they can do this diet, but if you've not done it long term on your own, then you can't really do it. Because people come away from a festival and they think, well, that was quite easy, I can keep doing that. But they go back into the world and realize they're going to end up almost guaranteed not buying enough. Everyone wants to think they can get away with on this diet without eating as much as people recommend. Everyone thinks they can eat less, and you really can't. They don't know what to buy. They go into the supermarket, they buy a trolley full of everything. They buy a packet of lychees, a packet of cherries, a packet of blueberries, they just buy a packet of everything. They go to the checkout, it's £500 or something, because they've bought like It's not expensive that, but it's expensive because they've just bought a whole bunch of different things. We've got one bunch of bananas, one thing of oranges, one thing of grapes, one thing of every single fruit. Pomegranates, like cranberries, things that people don't really eat that much on this lifestyle, and they're like pears and all sorts of stuff. Because you don't really know how to eat yet, or the way that raw vegans eat, and they just make a whole bunch of mistakes, and they inevitably go back to eating other stuff, and they blame themselves for not having discipline and blah blah. It's inevitable what was going to happen. It was inevitable because all of their habits are still there. Trying to push them to go back to exactly what they were doing before. And it's almost impossible to push against those habits over and over and over. But what you can do is gradually change those habits, one by one, gradually change them and gradually introduce new ones. And to me, like this, the set off point for 100% raw is that you're already eating an abundance of fruit, an abundance of vegetables, whatever you want to eat vegetable wise, and your cooked food portion is down to vegan whole food, probably down to one or two foods by that point. You're having potatoes and fruit and salad, and that's your diet. And then that's a point to go raw from. Not that you were eating McDonald's yesterday and you're raw today, or you were eating Domino's pizza yesterday and you're going to go raw. Like that's a big shift mentally, emotionally, cognitively, whatever. It's a big shift. So I would suggest that don't set your goals high and set your goals to be raw or whatever you want. But the way of getting towards that is through the day to day, starting to make these little shifts. Too many people have this ego of I'm just going to bypass all that and go raw. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You can't bypass all that stuff. It's still there in you. And it's going to come back. And you're going to be that person blaming everyone in the raw movement, blaming everyone and saying everyone else was wrong and everything, when you just never actually got rid of your old habits, your old worries. You never got the education either. People don't bother with that. Like why learn about protein? And I don't need to think about any of that stuff. I get it. Everyone's raw vegan. We're apes. Chimpanzees do it or whatever. Yeah, okay, good. I don't need to think about anything else anymore. These are the exact same people who years later go, I wasn't getting enough protein on this diet. I wasn't getting enough fat. Really? How did you measure that? I wasn't getting enough protein on this diet. Like they've just got some script or something. They've got no idea what they're saying anymore. So take this slowly, but it's not that slow. 6 months maybe. 6 months, maybe a year. Like that, it shouldn't take you that much long. But if you try and speed your way to this or do it tomorrow, it's not going to work. If you're going to try and do it without putting the work in, like a lot of people, you say, well, why don't you track what you ate this week? Oh, that's just too much. Like, what? Too much work? Yeah, it's a little bit of work. Track what you eat. But it's a small amount of work over the course of time, because you won't have to do it forever. It's just for a period of time. Anyway, if you want any help with any of this stuff, feel free to send me a message and or put a comment below or something. And thank you for joining me in these videos. But my message is, you might think you can do this, but unless you've done it long term, years at a time, you don't know how to do this yet, and you're not ready for it yet, probably, most likely. So you need to take a step-by-step approach towards it by eliminating your previous diet one piece at a time. If you're still drinking alcohol, maybe that's the goal. Before you think about anything else. If you're still eating, fish or something, well, that's the goal first. Before you think about, I'm going to go 100% raw, how about you get rid of the fish from your diet? Fish, chicken, steak and all, you need to get rid of these things. Dairy products, you need to get rid of these things. Oil, you need to get rid of these things. Fried food, certain types of cooking you want to get rid of first. So that's the way I would approach it. And you want to develop new habits. Look into the science of building habits, changing behavior. It doesn't happen overnight, it happens steadily over time. So, anyway, thank you for watching.